Hey, what's up, everybody? We're the Hannas, and this is Love, Faith, and Fire. Today, we're going to be taking a break from our normal content, and Stace wants to share a love story with you.
No, you do. This is something you've been begging me to do.
You know, us guys, we always like to share the love story.
It's Valentine's Day, so
Happy Valentine's Day!
When we took a poll as to how to start the podcast, that was the number one requested thing, was us sharing our story, and I ignored it, and we went to the second most requested thing, which was your journey with pornography. So I thought it would be fun to backtrack a little bit and share.
Sounds good. Who are you?
I don't have like any makeup on. Is that what you're saying?
No.
What are you saying?
Your thing goes, I'm Stacy Joy. And...
Oh, I'm sorry. We have not done an intro. So here's the deal. I've shared this on my live videos, but we are moving in 4 months, and our plan is to make this very official. We have an area of our house that we're going to be devoting to the podcast. We are really
multiple camera angles.
Yes, we're going to make this all very fancy and official when
it's
we
really,
move.
really hard to capture all this handsomeness and to direct one camera like this side.
Yeah,
the bird quality
I don't think the family can
amazing.
The bird quality. What's a bird mean?
My nose looks like a beak.
Anyways, so my name is Stacy Joy. I'm a beauty and fashion creator.
And I'm Andrew. I used to be a pastor for a few years, really passionate about preaching and teaching God's word. And
what do I say now?
Stacy,
I'm so tired today. You guys, I couldn't even find our write-up.
It's okay, guys.
What is it? What do I say?
You say something like, and we are here to talk about life's biggest questions: faith, theology, and yes, even that taboo question of sex. You can think of us as your unfiltered guide to life's biggest questions of faith, family, and questions about God. This will be a great time. This comes next. Okay, you ready?
I couldn't find my right one. Okay, go ahead.
It goes. This is going to be a straightforward approach with a little bit of humor and honesty as well. No topics off limit, so let's dive in.
Love it. Okay.
We're just sharing our story today, though, so it's not that big of a deal.
So where do we begin? Moody?
Your mom and your dad.
Yeah. So we met in what year? It was 20. It would have been 2010.
2010. Yep.
At Moody Bible Institute
in Chicago, Illinois.
Chicago. Tell us in the comments if you have ever heard of Moody Bible Institute. Hold on, our dog is wrapped up in the cord. So in 2010, we were both sophomores. Andrew had waited a few years to go to college. So you were, what, 25?
Yeah, God had to save me.
Yeah,
before I went to Bible school.
And I was 20.
Yeah.
I would have been 20. So we were both sophomores. He had been originally, there's 2 campuses of Moody.
There was not anymore.
Yeah, that's sad. May it rest in peace.
I think this is still an aviation campus, but there's a campus out in Spokane, Washington, and that's where I was for a year. I applied to Moody, and they told me, you got into Moody in Spokane, Washington. And I was like, I thought Moody was in Chicago. And so I was in a program called the 1+3 program.
That's for the people that didn't make it in Chicago.
No, they just realized I was at a maturity level that needed to live with other people outside of a dorm room setting. And then I would be transferred into my program, which was pastoral ministry with an emphasis in Bible preaching.
So it was sophomore year. So I remember the first time I saw him, we were in the cafeteria called the SDR, student dining room. So creative. And I saw him walking away from me. Now, I have always very affectionately referred to the men on Moody's campus as fairy hobbits. They are
There's not all of them.
Not super masculine. Andrew always clauses that. There are no clauses from me. They're not super masculine. They like play guitars in trees with no shoes on. And you think I'm joking. I'm not joking. It literally happens. So when my friends and I were at a table and we saw this man, this
hulking, attractive.
What other adjectives? Attractive.
Back like a silverback girl.
So man walk away from us.
Machismo.
He was, you're what?
Machismo.
What's that mean?
It's just macho-ness.
Machismo?
Machismo.
I don't know these words. Anyways, he was wearing dress shirt, dress pants, and carrying a huge bowl of hard-boiled eggs. And
I ate it every single day because I was trying to get as much protein as I could from cafeteria food.
Yeah.
So I did 7 eggs every morning, chop them up.
When I was a lad, I ate 4 dozen eggs. Anyway, so I saw him walking away from me, and I just remember thinking to myself, I don't know if I said it out loud, but I very vividly remember the moment where I'm like, I am going to get to know him. And then...
What do you mean by that?
Well, we all know what it eventually led to, knowing the biblical...
4 kids.
4 kids. But that was the very beginning of sophomore year. We ended up having completely different friend groups.
Yeah.
And
she was the crazy party girl on campus, which Moody means you actually do stuff. You go out to like
interesting
restaurants
thing
and things.
About Moody. So there was a group of kids that did all the things. Like they were drinking, they were partying, they were doing drugs.
That wasn't us.
I was not in that group at all. You guys, I didn't drink until in order to go to Moody, you had to sign a covenant that you wouldn't drink.
That's a promise you're not going to do something.
I turned 21 at Moody. I did not drink until I graduated. I was very serious about that covenant, but because I was very outgoing, everyone assumed I partied. Everyone assumed I did stuff. I did not.
Well, you like made all the social events.
I am a huge extrovert, and growing up,
no one would guess that about you.
My parents are not super extroverted. Well, my mom is, but anyways, so we didn't do much. My siblings are both introverts, and so I am a massive extrovert, but I really wasn't allowed to do anything socially. So I got to college, and I was like, oh my word, I get to be with people. I get to hang out with people. And so I was planning events. I was having the time of my life. I failed out of my first year, but I made up for it after that. I was having the time of my life. I just had so much fun, but it was all very good, clean, pure fun, except for I went streaking on one of the roofs. Anyway, I was not the partier, but it was kind of assumed that I was because I was so outgoing. So anyway, so when Andrew came in, he was not interested in me. I wasn't interested in him.
Except she wanted to get to know me.
Except I thought
she saw me from my back.
He was eye candy. Every woman appreciates some eye candy.
But the crazy story is that I actually did come from a partying background, if you guys have heard my story before. And God saved me out of that and just completely flipped my script and just changed my passions completely. And so I was so anti anything that even resembled partying. And so I was looking for the girl on campus who was leading Bible studies, who was very straight-laced, who was
jean skirt,
quieter, not as rambunctious. I wasn't...
You don't always complain about that, do you?
Stace.
There's literally no one even in this room with us right now, and you're getting embarrassed.
Okay. Well, this is going to be heard out by people. So Stace and I really didn't connect that much. I'm trying to even think. So, but the way that we did end up connecting, I came to Moody in Chicago, and I really was, I don't know, it was strange for me because when I left Spokane, it was a really different vibe in Chicago. Like
you
Spokane,
did not like it.
We had houses, we were in the mountains, we were basically living in our own homes, doing our own lives and going to school.
Yeah.
And when you come to Moody in Chicago, it's in downtown Chicago. Mm-hmm. So you don't drive a car anymore.
It's very different.
You walk everywhere. There's not a lot of sunlight. You can see one.
There's Dementors everywhere. It's terrible.
It was a really difficult transition for me. So I was kind of keeping to myself. And I remember
the harem that followed you around. There was a group of girls. Don't you dare tell me to edit this out because it's very true. There was a group of girls that, like little seagulls, followed him around. And that even more so turned me off because I'm like, absolutely no. There were just so many reasons why we were both turned off to each other. As that year went on, there was no way that we would I still sometimes we look at each other and be like, I can't believe we got married for so many reasons.
Yeah, it was clearly the sovereignty and control of God bringing us together because it was definitely not something we would have naturally done. But no. I remember, just to bring the story along a little bit further, I remember the first time that I saw Stace, though. I was upstairs in our coffee shop. It was called Joe's. And I was sitting there studying, and I just remember this girl walking in the room, and it felt like sunshine came into the room. She was blonde. She had the most beautiful smile.
And then I came in after her.
That was good.
Well, the way you're saying
that was good. No, it was Stace. It was her. I was being dramatic. So she came in the room, and it was like sunshine came into the room at the moment she came in. And she bounced around all of the people in the room, and she said hi to them. She seemed to know pretty much everybody. And I just remember thinking, man, I really hope she comes over and says hi to me. And then she didn't. And that was a sad day for me. So I was like, oh, whatever. So I was kind of upset. And I think the next time we saw each other was, I used to go to the gym a lot when we were at Moody. That was like my spot. It's where I met dudes, and we would lift together, and I'd disciple them.
We didn't start talking in the gym till the next year, though. We were not connected.
So we weren't really, but I remember seeing Stace a couple times.
So the time that you talk about when I was with my ex.
Yeah.
So we ended up dating different people that year. So I dated who we call the spawn of Satan, affectionately, very affectionately. And you tell that story, because I think I still to this day think that's so interesting.
Yeah. So Stacy I'm just so full of joy. Like, her middle name, you guys know, is Joy. And it really just captures who she is and who she was at Moody. And I just remember her ex-boyfriend he worked at Moody, and he would have to put away the chairs and stuff at Joe's. And we used to study there a lot. And it was late one night. I was
in prison now,
playing.
To be honest. He's probably cleaning up the mess.
Stacy. I was sitting there studying, and I just remember watching Stacy and put away these chairs. I was like, I'm impressed by that. You know, she's willing to serve and help. I remember thinking, she's pretty awesome. Like, I wish I were her boyfriend. And that was a weird thought.
So weird.
Because we never even talked. And then I remember I was in Joe's again.
When Mom came in.
And her mom came, and her whole family came and visited.
My mother
Go ahead, you can tell
thinks Victoria's Secret bags are cute because they're pink.
Because they're pink.
So she brings
I'm sitting there.
everything everywhere in Victoria's Secret bags. She'll keep them. I swear sometimes she asks for extras. And anytime she has to give someone something, she puts it in a Victoria's Secret bag. So she's walking through Moody. She did this all the time at Moody with a bunch of Victoria's Secret bags, walked into the coffee shop with all of these Victoria's Secret bags. It's like there was a peanut butter sandwich.
Yeah, it was their lunch.
There's like nothing.
It was her lunch box.
It would be file papers and my birth certificate or whatever. Anyway, so
it's a fun way to bring them in the room.
Tell the story.
So I'm sitting there, and I'm just, I think I was playing games or something, and I just saw her with her family, and I just remember looking over and be like, I wish.
Because the spawn of hell was with me.
I think he was there with you, and I was like, I wish that was me. And that was just so strange because I really had no relationship with Stacy, and she was not the type of girl I was looking for, I thought.
Yeah. So how did this all change? How did these two people who should not have been end up married with
these star-crossed lovers?
These star-crossed lovers. So
well, my family had a feud with her family, and
no, that ends bad. End of sophomore year, I found out my boyfriend was dealing drugs on campus, and I had no idea. Apparently everyone thought I knew. I literally didn't even know what
everyone thought she knew, and they didn't tell her. That makes sense, and Stacy would be okay with that.
I found out. When I tell you I grew up in a box, it was a very small box. I was very naive. I didn't even know what weed smelled like until Andrew made me aware of it. When we smelled it, like when we were on a walk or something in college. I literally had
threw some oregano on the stove. I was like, it's kind of how it smells.
Does that smell like oregano?
Burning oregano.
I literally didn't know that.
People told me.
I'm so naive. So he probably had smelled like it, and I just thought it was a skunk nearby. I had no idea. So we only dated for 3 months, he and I. And at the last day of the school year, it was a very bad thing. He came to school drunk. I had never seen him drunk. Not
me. This is the
ex-boyfriend. I didn't even know he drank. He told me he didn't. He put on a very good face. Like, I literally had no idea what was going on. And my parents had met him. They loved him. Anyways, wolf in sheep's clothing, as my friends yelled at him the next year when we walked past him. But
he's a bad guy.
Anyways, so I found all of this stuff out the last day of the school year. So we broke up literally right after the, what's it called? Whenever
convocation.
Right after graduation, like on the way back from graduation ceremony on the streets of Chicago. And so Andrew didn't know, and he wouldn't have cared at that point. But for some reason, that we like had no relationship at school. For some reason, we occasionally we were on
We'd
each other's
bump into
Skype.
each other in the. We never Skyped. No.
Typing, not video, typing.
We were on Facebook. You were on Facebook one day, and you reached out and messaged me. And you were like, "Hey, how's your summer going?" And I asked you, "How's your boyfriend?"
No, listen. That's what happened. This is what happened. I tried multiple times for some reason to talk to you, and you were giving me one-word responses. I don't know why.
I don't talk to somebody who's dating someone else. That's not disrespectful.
We did not
like
even have a relationship, so I don't know why.
Well, I know why you did.
Because I'm so hot. Because I'm Andrew Muscles, as all the girls called me at Moody. Andrew Muscles.
I didn't say that.
I don't know what it is.
You're the one who said that.
It's just the Andrew Hanna effect. Literally, his nickname on campus was Andrew Muscles.
By one person.
When several of my friends, when they found out we were dating, they're like, "You're dating Andrew Muscles?" I'm like, "Yes." Okay, so let's figure this out, how this all came together.
It's ridiculous.
So you love it. You love it.
Yeah.
You love your muscles.
Stop it.
Sweaty muscles.
Okay, stop that.
Wrapping around my body.
Okay, so.
Okay.
Moving on.
So anyway, so I had messaged him multiple times for some reason. And he was giving me like one-word responses. So it was like in June, I remember. It hit me. He doesn't know we broke up. So, so he said, what's his name? And I go, "Oh, we broke up." Literally, the next message was like paragraphs of how he was serving in church that summer and all of the things he was doing. So we ended up talking back and forth a lot going into junior year, but we were not by no means dating at all. We were just.
And I was able to find out through those messages that she was safe.
But that summer I was teaching a Sunday school class at church for
which was
kids.
Attractive.
And so we started.
I was a youth pastor.
Sharing ministry, started asking me questions about, but he wasn't really interested in me. He was really interested in someone else I was close to. And so a professor let's be honest, for the sake
listen, let me just say. Do you want to
tell the story? The professor said, get to know her best friend, and then you can get to her. That's why he started talking to me originally.
Do you remember when I said earlier that the type of girl I was looking for was a leader on campus who was like head of women's ministry, all of those? Well, this girl fit that profile. And so that was the profile I was going after.
So he was told to get, that's probably why he was messaging
No, it actually, so let me just delete that. No, that was not why I was messaging you. Because
just because you say delete the podcast doesn't delete it.
Siri, delete that.
Go ahead.
Deleting.
You and your Australian Siri voice.
What? It's better than the original one.
Okay, go ahead.
So, no, but this thing at Joe's with her jumping around, but like being sunshine like that, and me thinking those things before, I was interested in Stacy. I was just more interested in the other person. I thought you and the other person were the most beautiful and
thank you.
Women I get. So I really did. But
so the next year, we had talked that summer, but you were still interested in my friend. And so he started trying to organize what he called, welcome to Bible school, revival prayer groups. And it was him and me and my bestie who he wanted to do these revival prayer groups with. Well, she, bless her heart, is very flaky. And so she would never come to the meetings. So it ended up just being Andrew and I. And we talked a little bit, but we got to know each other through that. And so finally there came a point junior year, later in the fall, where we definitely were starting to have interest in each other. We had more conversations about like heart things in our lives, and we realized that we were more aligned than we had ever thought. And those conversations, I mean, it was really those conversations about theology.
Type of woman that Stacy actually was.
About
she's
theology.
She's a solid woman of God.
And all of that stuff.
She loved the Lord, that she had been a pastor's daughter her whole life.
Yeah, and so we were able to have those conversations because my friend kept flaking. So finally got to the point where I'm like, I would kind of like to hang out with him. Like, I don't know, like go out or something. And you clearly had the same idea. I organized a social event, which was going to the zoo lights in Chicago. The Lincoln Park Zoo has zoo lights every Christmas.
It's beautiful.
So
if you've never been there.
Quote, organized an entire event that I only invited Andrew to.
She sent a group text to me. I
sent a group text that somehow only went to him. I tried to make it look like everyone had flaked out. And
she did a really good job. Like
he had no idea. So it comes down to the event. I'm like, everyone's going, blah, 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 blah. And I was going to end up telling them people couldn't make it last minute. Do you still want to go?
But from my end,
yes.
I wanted to see if she liked me.
So if I would still go without.
I said, I'm sorry, I can't make it that night.
And so I ended up scrambling and finding a whole group of people to go. And I did. And what was great was he walked past us in the courtyard of the school as we were leaving for the zoo lights. So we were covered. So we rain checked and we ended up going to the zoo lights the next week and then meeting my brother and his then girlfriend. They were just dating for like late night breakfast for dinner after that. And
Except I was so poor. I only bought coffee.
Yeah, and we went Dutch. It's fine. So that was...
It wasn't a date.
No.
We were just meeting together to go to the romantic zoo.
So that was really... That night, we had, I remember, the best conversations about ministry and what we each wanted, about the future, and not our future together, but like what we both wanted out of life. And we both left that kind of like there was no commitment or anything, but just like, wow. And then he told me he was moving back to Spokane.
Washington,
so we were like, well, that's the end of that. There was no commitment. I was talking to another guy I was talking to both of you. There had been no commitment, but I was pretty interested in that other guy too. So you tell me you were leaving.
He's a great guy. He just wasn't as great as me.
He was wonderful, but definitely was not for me. Obviously. So, did you say he was?
He lost.
I thought you said he was. Like, what? He lost. Okay, so this is just the longest. We never tell our story in depth. So, okay, Andrew moves back to Spokane. I'm like, well, that was nice. That's the end of that. So I kind of start leaning into talking to this other guy more. But then Andrew starts Skyping me, like, on Messenger all the time, even though he's in Spokane. So it came to spring break that year where I had been talking to both Andrew and this other guy. We actually read a journal entry about this last night on our date, nonstop. I was talking to both of them, and it got to the point where I'm like, I need to drop one of these guys because I like both of them. I really align with both of them, but this is too much is getting invested. Like, hearts are getting too invested. And it wasn't intentional. It just was what was going on. So I ended up talking to my mom and my sister about it and just kind of laying everything out. And I remember they were just looking at me because they had been listening to you and I. At this point, we were video Skyping almost every day over spring break. And I was doing it in the kitchen because I was really trying to tell myself it wasn't a big deal. We didn't need to have private discussions or whatever. And my mom looked at me and she was like, "You are an idiot." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's
like, strong language for her mom.
That's very strong. My mom says crap and she goes, "Crap." And it's like the biggest swear word that she's ever said. It's so funny. But anyway, she's like, "You're an idiot." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "Why are you not dating this guy?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" And she's just like, she laid it all out for me. She's like, "I don't understand what it is." She's like, "I think it's a problem with you." I'm like, "Okay." So
thanks, Mom.
I left
You're
spring
awesome.
break and I ended what was there with the other guy, bless his heart. And he was so great. He took it really well. And Andrew and I started talking and it got serious very, very fast because it was between then and
we talked for like 4 to 5 hours a
and
day.
When we started dating that June, so like 2 months later, that we had already decided we wanted to marry each other.
And this is one thing, if you're single right now, we were very, very intentional.
So intentional.
So intentional with our conversations. I was 26. I didn't want to waste time talking to somebody that I wasn't going to marry.
Yeah.
And we wanted to find out everything, the core key things about parenting, about relationships.
Which is, I'm glad we were long distance because we weren't tempted to like get all over each other. We literally talked for like 5 hours a day about heart issues. And I mean, that led to us having to learn how to have fun with each other, which was interesting. But so
that's true. We've always only had deep conversations.
Yeah. So he ended up doing an internship with my dad. My dad's a lead pastor, and Andrew did an internship that summer, but I wasn't actually living in my hometown that summer. I was doing an internship in Wheaton, Illinois for clinical psychology. And so he was living in my hometown. I was not. And he started the internship, and we really weren't dating yet. My dad, he didn't want it to look, because you got the internship actually before we even started
for sure before we were dating.
You got the internship in like February, and I was talking to the other guy more seriously than you at that point. So I got him this internship as like a friendship gesture, and then we started talking more seriously.
And I got the internship so that I would have a door in to date her.
Okay.
No,
Anyway.
but part of that though, honestly, was I really appreciated
I'm not mad about
Jay's
that.
ministry too of discipleship and how he intentionally discipled people. I thought was incredible. That was another, but
Andrew's passion was discipleship, and my dad is huge on discipleship. And so, anyways, well, it worked. And so, about a week or two into that internship, we decided to start dating. And he asked my dad. My dad grilled him for 2 hours, and we booked our wedding. So that was June 6th. 2012. We booked our wedding venue in July. My brother got married in December, and we wanted to get married in December. We were told we weren't allowed to get engaged till after they got married. So we got engaged in January and then married in July of 2013.
Yep.
It's pretty sweet.
It was.
What did I miss?
Nothing. Our goal in life was to worship and praise God, to serve him, and to raise godly children who would do the same. I mean, that really is what our goal has been. For those of you who are single, I think this is just look for the person who will run alongside of you serving the Lord, and at the same time to enjoy yourself. You know, it's been, you just never know who the Lord is going to bring you to. I would have never thought that I was going to marry Stace.
Well, and when we announced at Moody we were dating, you had friends pull you aside, and they were like, "Her bro, you're making a big mistake."
Yeah, they did.
Because
you were so.
That because I was so outgoing that there must be some partying going on, but people that like literally
didn't know her. Well, it was a really big spot when her brother's now wife sat me down and said, "Why are you spending time with Stacy? She looks to be this, and this." And then I explained the woman of God that I saw Stacy to be, that I believe.
Oh, she played devil's advocate. I forgot that, because she and I were in very different friend groups too. And so, yeah, share that story.
And I just told her how much I just believed that Stacy really loved the Lord and was passionate for him and was tender and sweet. And she said, "That's who she is. That's who she really is. And you should date her." And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool.
So it's a good reminder that just because someone's different from you, don't assume things about them. I remember there were so many conversations that I had with people in college. They were like, "Oh, I thought you were like a party, blah, blah, blah," until I had a first conversation with you. And just because, I mean, if you're quiet, just because someone's fun and outgoing and loud doesn't mean that they have skeletons. And if you're loud, just because someone's quiet and shy doesn't mean that they might not be the most fun person you've ever been with in your life. They're just shy. So be careful about assuming things about people. All of that to say, we have been married for 11 years. We've had a lot of ups and downs. Marriage is, my dad said, and it rings in my ears all the time, anyone can be married, but it is very hard to have a good marriage.
A good marriage takes hard work.
It is hard. It takes a lot of time. It takes putting your phone down, turning off Netflix, having sex when you don't feel like it, having conversations when you're tired. It takes
choosing the other above yourself.
Yeah. Humility. It's very, very hard. But it's so worth it.
And more than anything, pursuing the Lord and studying the Bible and saturating in that, you will become like what you spend your time around and what you do. And so that's an encouragement. Thanks for joining us as we shared our story. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you. We'll be back next week, back into our series on systematic theology and really answering and diving into what is God like and talking a little bit more about the concepts in our society of love, of goodness.
Redefining our terms based on truth, not based on opinions. So it'll be really good. Well, thank you so much, guys. We love y'all. Have a good day. Bye.
Have an awesome day.